about. In Greek, there aren't any punctuations. So let's see what happens when we move the comma. Mark 16:9. Now when Yahusha was risen, early the first day of the week, he appeared first to Mary Magdalene, out of whom he had cast out 7 devils. Do you see the difference? Do you hear the difference? Okay, but in case that doesn't work for you, okay, if that doesn't suit you, let's get 2 or 3 witnesses to what I'm talking about. Okay, let's start with reading from the top of Mark 16:1 through 2 says, and when Sabbath was past, Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of James, and Salome had brought sweet spices that they might come and anoint him. And very early in the morning, the first day of the week, they came unto the sepulchre at the rising of the sun. Pay attention to what I just said. Very early in the morning, at the rising of the sun. Okay, so on Yah's calendar, the day begins in the morning, not in the evening like Judaism teaches. Soon I will share my studies on that also. Also, there are more than 2 calendars being kept during that time. Messiah and his followers kept the priestly Zadokian calendar given and recorded by Enoch. It was different from the Pharisees and the Sadducees. Getting back to the scripture we read, Mark 16:1 through 2, notice it says, when Sabbath passed, and that the 2 Marys went to the sepulchre, which is the tomb, very early in the morning at the rising of the sun. So what happens next? Mark 16:3 through 5. And they said among themselves, who shall roll us away the stone from the door of the sepulchre? And when they looked, they saw that the stone was rolled away, for it was very great. And entering into the sepulchre, they saw a young man sitting at the right side, clothed in a long white garment, and they were afraid. Mark 16:6 through 7. And he said unto them, be not afraid. You seek Yahusha of Nazareth, which was crucified. He is risen, he is not here. Behold the place where they laid him. But go your way and tell his disciples and Peter that he goes before you into Galilee. There shall ye see him, as he said unto you. So notice at sunrise, he was already gone. He had already risen. So this thing with early Sunday morning, he was already gone, right? He was already gone. Let's look at Mark 16:8 through 9. And they went out quickly and fled from the sepulchre, for they trembled and were amazed. Neither said they anything to any man, for they were afraid. Now when Yahusha was risen early, the first day of the week, first to Mary Magdalene, out of whom he had cast 7 devils. Okay, so now we can see verse 9. The Englishmen, the translators, placed the comma in the wrong place, causing the readers to believe that he had risen early on the first day of the week. But just as we read, just as we saw, and hopefully I proved, he wasn't there early on the first day of the week. Okay, so let's grab some more witnesses. Let's go to Matthew 8:1. In the end of the Sabbath, as it began to dawn toward the first day of the week, came Mary Magdalene and the mother of Mary to the sepulchre. So we see here the Sabbath was ending and the dawning of the new day was approaching. Side note, that's a nice little clue when a day begins, right? When the Sabbath is over. So it's all the way up until there's light in the sky the next day. It isn't evening to evening like a lot of people believe and teach. Now let's go to Matthew 28:6. He is not here, for he is risen. As he said, come, see the place where the master lay. Luke 24:1. Now upon the first day of the week, very early in the morning, they came to the sepulchre, bringing the spices that they had prepared, and certain others with them. Luke 24:3. And they entered in and found not the body of the master Yahusha. John 20, verse 1. The first day of the week comes Mary Magdalene early when it was yet dark, unto the sepulchre, and see the stone away from the sepulchre. Then she ran and came or went to Peter and the other disciples whom Yahusha loved, and said unto them, They have taken away the master out of the sepulchre, and we know not where they laid him. So we can clearly see, I hope you can clearly see with me, that the Messiah did not raise from the grave early Sunday morning like we grew up learning and Christianity teaches today. So when did Messiah hang on the tree with stakes, aka crucified? Okay. On the Enoch calendar, Passover as well as all the feasts of Yah are on the same day of the week every year. Passover is always on the third day of the week, on the 14th day of the first month. Okay, to make it easy, today that would be a Tuesday. Unleavened bread is always the fourth day of the week, and to make it easy, that would be a Wednesday. So if some of you are a little bit upset that I use those names, just ignore it, okay? Because we know what you already know, and I'm just trying to help those who don't know, okay? Make it easier for them to understand. What Christianity calls communion, eating crackers, drinking grape juice, every week or every first of the month is not in Scripture. The Last Supper or the Lord's Supper or the communion is only the heading. It is only the heading of a section in Scripture, which the translators added. It's not actually in Scripture. Okay, so let's look at the biblical account of when it all took place. First, let's get something out of the way. We know Messiah was in the tomb 3 days and 3 nights, right? 3 days and 3 nights. So let's go to Matthew 12:40. For as Jonas was 3 days and 3 nights in the whale's belly, so shall the Son of Man be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. So let's get one thing out of the way, right? You cannot get 3 days and 3 nights from Friday to Sunday, right? So let's just count it. Friday, Friday night. You have Sabbath day, Sabbath night. You have Sunday, that's 3 days, but where's your third night? Sunday night. So then that would mean Monday, right? That would be Monday. So you don't get 3 days and 3 nights from Friday to Sunday, right? Okay, just wanted to get that out of the way. All right. So we see that didn't work. So let's see what does work. Let's find out the truth of the matter. Okay, so now, whether or not you want to learn better and do better, whether or not you want to walk in spirit and truth, stop teaching that if you teach that, okay? There is no Friday to Sunday, 3 days and 3 nights. We just proved it. Just if you would just do everyone a favor and not teach that anymore. Stop relying on people who don't read and study their scriptures. It's not fair. It's not okay. Passover is the 14th day of the first month, and in the evening of the 14th, we eat unleavened bread. And the 15th day is when unleavened bread begins, and it is a rest day where you do no work and you gather together, okay? Leviticus 23:5. On the 14th day of the first month at even is Yahuwah's Passover, and on the 15th day of the same month is the feast of unleavened bread unto Yahuwah. 7 days you must eat unleavened bread. In the first day ye shall have a holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein. Exodus 12:18. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month at even, ye shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of the month at even. Okay, so pay attention here so that we can clearly see when Messiah was hung on stakes on a tree, wooden pole, crucified. Okay, so Messiah met on the 14th day to have Passover with his disciples. On the 15th day was a rest. Okay, now keep in mind that Yahusha could not and did not ever break or go against his Father's commands, his rules. He knew them. He knew them perfectly. He would be keeping his Father's calendar. By this time in Messiah's life, the current priests were not in the priestly line. That's why John the Immerser, you found him in the wilderness eating locusts and honey. Right. His father was Zacharias, who served in the order of Abias. So like today, there are people masquerading as and taking over the identity of the rightful priests. Let's go to Matthew 26:17. Now the first day of the feast of unleavened bread, the disciples came to Yahushua, saying, Where wilt thou that we prepare for thee to eat the Passover? The term Hag Matzot, or Feast of Unleavened Bread, is commonly interchangeable with Passover, as evident in the scripture we just read. We know Passover comes a day before unleavened bread, and we start eating unleavened bread on the night of Passover, the day before the actual feast day begins, which is the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which starts the next day. So let's go to Matthew 26:18. And he said, Go to the city to such a man and say to him, The master says, My time is at hand. I will keep the Passover at thy house with my disciples. And the disciples did as Yahushua had appointed them, and they made ready the Passover. Okay, so notice it didn't say, I'm going to go and keep communion with my disciples. Okay, so how often is Passover? Once a year, right? Not every week, not every month. So what's going to be for you, now that you're learning the truth, is it going to be truth or tradition? Is it going to be peer pressure, or is it going to be, I'm going to serve Yah no matter what anyone says? Okay, so after the Passover meal, this is what happened next. Matthew 26:30. And when they had sung a hymn, they went out into the Mount of Olives. We know that this was late because Passover already starts in the evening as it is, right? Matthew 26:31. Then said Yahushua unto them, All ye shall be offended because of me this night. For it is written, I will smite the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock shall be scattered. Matthew 26:36. Then come Yahushua with them unto a place called Gethsemane, and said unto the disciples, Sit ye here while I go and pray yonder. Messiah went away a few times, and he returned to find his disciples sleeping. Let's go to Matthew 26:45. Then comes he to his disciples, and said unto him, Sleep on now, and take your rest. Behold, the hour is at hand, that the Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us be going. Behold, he is at hand that does betray me. Matthew 26:47. And while he yet spoke, lo, Judas, one of the 12, came, and with him a great multitude with swords and staves, from the chief priests and elders of the people. Now he that betrayed him gave them a sign, saying, Whosoever I shall kiss, that same is he. Hold him fast. And forthwith he came to Yahushua and said, Master, and kissed him. And Yahushua said unto him, Friend, wherefore art thou come? Then they came and laid hands on Yahushua and took him. Question. Serious, right? Have you thought of this before? Who was Judas hanging out with on his own time? Who was he hanging out with long enough to be convinced to throw Yahushua HaMashiach under the bus? Like, not just under the bus, but to betray him and get him killed, get him arrested, beaten. Who was he hanging out with? Think about that. You have to have outside influences of some sort to have you go against your best friend, right? Like, think about it. We also have to be careful with that same thing today.